We are joined right now by the manager of the San Diego Padres. He is in his first season with the Padres. He is a three-time Manager of the Year, one of 6 managers in history to win Manager of the Year in both leagues. More than 1,300 career wins. Padres out quickly. They're 4-1 on the year. They are at San Francisco this evening. We are joined by Bob Melvin. Bob, it is so good to have you back. How are you, Bob?
I'm good, Jim. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Always good to talk to you. I appreciate the visit. You won that series opener with the Giants. As a Bay Area guy, what's it been like returning to the Bay Area for the series? Why don't we start right there?
Yeah, look, it's always special to be here. You know, obviously in Oakland, we played here every year. Grew up in the Bay Area, and, just one time I always kind of mark on the schedule that we get to play the Giants, and now in a different uniform. So lucky to be able to come here 3 times a year. It's a really good team to play, but always special when I'm at home.
We're talking to Bob Melvin. Bob, it's such a long, long year, and I know you're starting to get a better feel for things and learn your team and everything that comes along with it. I'm curious, 5 games in, have you learned anything about the team that maybe you didn't know when you first took that job?
Yeah, well, a lot of things, actually. You go into a different organization, just how things are done differently, how you deal with manage up, I don't know why I thought that you go to another organization and it would be similar, because I have been in other organizations before, but it's just getting acclimated. Can't wait to get back to San Diego and actually play in that fantastic ballpark. But getting to know the players in a shortened spring, kind of figuring out where our bullpen goes at this point, and it's still kind of a little bit of a work in progress. So a lot of things that you just kind of have to take a deep breath and know it's going to take a little bit of time, but, we've gotten off to a decent start.
Padres manager Bob Melvin joining us. Bob, you're right about that. You said it's going to be great to get back to San Diego and get to that great ballpark, but then you've got the fans themselves. You've got the home opener on Thursday. I know that when you came down to San Diego with the A's, that Padre fan base made a really strong impression on you. How eager are you to have that crowd rooting for you instead of against you?
Yeah, you know what, that might be as incentivized as it gets around here, knowing that, you're going to play in front of that crowd. And last year, I think they were second in attendance and really didn't even open up full until a little bit later in the season. It was a special time. Everybody in our dugout, it was a Tuesday night, and it was packed, and it felt like almost like playoff atmosphere or a big weekend series, and it seems to be that way every night. It's the only game in town there in San Diego, and the fans are into it probably as much as ever in franchise history. So looking forward to, getting in front of those fans and letting them, kind of root us on and feel that momentum every night.
We're talking to Bob Melvin. So, Bob, not to spend a lot of time on this, but one quick thought, one quick question. You had a nice thing going, a good thing going in Oakland. You were having success there. What was it that let you know that it was time to move on?
I think you just feel like maybe at some point in time it's time, and I knew there was going to be some trades and so forth. We went through a couple rebuilds when I was there. Not that they won't be competitive, because Billy and David always put a competitive team on the field, no matter what the payroll is. But just all things considered, it just felt like after 10 years, maybe a new chapter. So I can't think of a better place to be able to do that and spend a summer in San Diego. Not going to be too bad.
Fair enough. Bob Melvin joining us. It's been an interesting start to the year already. Opening day, Yu Darvish had a no-hitter going through 6. You made the decision to remove him. Then the next day, Sean Manaea threw 7 innings of no-hit ball. You made the decision to remove him as well. The story goes, Bob, that before last week, you had never taken a pitcher with a no-hitter out of a game, and then you had to do it twice in a row. Given the short spring training, were they tough decisions or maybe pretty simple?
Tough in that you never want to do that, but pretty simple, and we have to look at guys' health. I mean, they only had 3 starts in spring training. Guys went out there not even 5 times, got up 5 times as far as innings go in spring training. So you have to be cognizant of that. But it hurt my heart to take guys out of games where they, potentially had a chance to throw no-hitters. But you know what, looking back at it, I believe it was the right thing to do. You know, we're trying to get through a 162-game season with a shortened spring. So starting pitching is really one of the strengths of this team, and I just can't put them in a bad position to where I'm asking too much too early.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Bob. I was going to say I agree with you. Of course, you didn't take the ball from me, but I agree with you. I mean, you absolutely have to look out for the well-being of the entire team and the staff. What about Manaea? What's it been like having him in San Diego? What does he bring to the team in terms of on-field performance, but also as a teammate and a guy in that clubhouse?
Amazing teammate, supports everybody. You know, I've been telling the guys here, you're never going to have a better teammate than this guy. You know, during the COVID season when pitchers had to sit in the stands, he was making signs out for, you know, holding up signs for players. And, you know, he brings a lot of levity. It's consistent attitude and a consistent personality every day. You can't tell on the day that he's pitching that it's pitch day for him because he's just such a good guy and in such a good mood all the time. And then you factor in the performance that's been really consistent for me over the years. And it's also nice to have somebody here that I know that can kind of relay to the players kind of how I do things and maybe bridge that gap of not really knowing guys early on here. So there's a lot of aspects of great aspects to have Sean Manaea here.
You know, Bob, a couple of things before you go. In terms of the way you do things, this is really interesting. But after you were hired, former relief pitcher Jerry Blevins told MLB Radio that you're his favorite manager ever and that you have it in your DNA to get the very best out of people. Brian Price, the former Reds manager who joined you in San Diego, told The Athletic, quote, "If you're going to die on a hill, there are only a few people in your life that you die on a hill for, and he's one of them." I mean, this is really, really high praise. And this the way that you have of getting the very best out of people. How do you do that? What is your approach for that?
You know, I wish I could tell you, just be myself. You know, you try to communicate with everything you do, you know, whether guys are going to play on a certain day, what pinch hit roles might be, trying to get the bullpen squared away each and every day. And that takes a lot of communication to let guys know who's available, what their roles are. And just be yourself. You know, you as a manager, you have to command respect, and I think if you do that early on, and then the friendships come after that, I think that's kind of the way to play it. At least it's been fairly successful for me. It's humbling to hear those things, you know, especially for a guy like, you know, Jerry Blevins was a guy I had to send up and down in Oakland a lot, and had to communicate and have tough conversations with him. So I appreciate him saying that. And Brian Price is just one of my best friends, you know, not only in the game, but just, you know, on a personal level. So, yeah, I think he's a little biased.
Yeah, well, yeah, that, but maybe not. I think most guys, wouldn't you agree about that? They just want, they'll have the tough conversation. As long as you look them in the eye and you shoot them straight, they not only appreciate that, I think they kind of embrace that tough conversation, right? That's how you stay connected to guys, by having that tough conversation and shooting them straight always.
Exactly, and you have to. I always frame it in, you know, this is what's best for the team. If you can take a step back, you know, I always try to look and be in your shoes and know what you're dealing with, and you know how you want to succeed, what role you want. But at the end of the day, you have to take a look at, you know, being in my shoes too, and that I'm trying to do the best I can for the team. And I think hopefully it comes off authentic that way. And, you know, so far so good with all the guys here. They've been great. And you know, even a guy like Eric Hosmer with a day off the other day against the lefty, kind of knew that was coming. He was all for it. He was ready to come off the bench. So, you know, the guys here have really made it easy on me.
Bob Melvin joining us. So one last thought. When you were hired, you made the point that Fernando Tatis Jr. is, quote, maybe the most exciting young player in the game. And to quote, I would agree with that. What's it been like to be without him for a few months? And what's the time frame for his return?
Yeah, that happened. You know, we come to spring training, and all of a sudden, you know, kind of first day there with position players, all of a sudden we have to deal with that. But, you know, you're going to go through adversity over the course of the season. I don't know it's a horrible thing not to be at full strength right away, try to create identity that we're going to, you know, play hard in these games, you know, do things fundamentally sound, no unforced errors, try to win some games where maybe we're not full force in offense yet. And I think if you can create that, then once you get guys back, and we have more guys coming out of the bullpen and out of the rotation with Clevenger and guys like that too, I think the momentum starts to build, and now all of a sudden you feel like you're getting better as the season goes along, even though you're getting off to a decent start. So, you that's just kind of how I look at that.
Yeah, I would think there's an opportunity in that, to be sure. He's in his first season with the Padres. He's a 3-time Manager of the Year. San Diego is out to a 4-1 start. They're at San Francisco this evening. Bob Melvin, my guest. Bob, really good to get caught up. Always good to have you on this show. I appreciate the relationship and the conversation, as always. Bob, thanks so much.
Anytime for you, Jim.
You too, Bob. Appreciate you. Skip, Bob Melvin, one of the best.